Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Ask a Medium radio show here on ParaX Radio. I am your host, Rev.Ivy Rivera, psychic medium, coming to you from the Ivy League's Psychic Academy, where we are raising up the next generation of light workers. I am here with my beautiful co-host, Theresa Matuszak. How are you, Tree?
I'm good. How are you? Hello, everybody.
Very good. And we have questions coming in already, okay, for the show tonight. So I'm going to explain to you guys real quick how exactly you can send your questions in. Easiest way probably is via text. 716-602-1391. I'm going to give that one more time. 716-602-1391, or you can log on to ParaX where you're listening and go into, I believe, the chat room, or you just log them in however you do that over there. You can also go to, I'm like, good luck. We'll take your questions if you can figure it out yourself.
We can find them.
Yeah, I can't even find them anyways. So, no, we're doing good. And we have our lovely tech guy, Jay, and our producer, Garcia, here. So we'll be fine. Because Trey and I are hopeless. So
Speak for yourself.
That's true. That's true. I'm speaking for myself. I assure you, I cannot find the questions. Unless you text them directly to my phone, and that I am looking at. So feel free to text them in, or again, okay, through ParaX, also, Facebook. If they go into the search bar and Ask a Medium, and ParaX, it will pop up automatically, and you can post them there on the business page, and we'll be getting to them. So your questions can consist of psychic, mediumship, if you have loved ones on the other side that you're hoping to hear from, paranormal, lost objects, or on our topic for tonight. Basically, what we're talking about tonight is life tests. Why did they happen? What do they mean? And how can you better survive them? You ever get any of these? You ever get any life tests?
I had one heck of a test on Easter Sunday, didn't I?
Yes.
My poor little baby, my kitty cat, ended up becoming very ill, and we rushed her into an emergency clinic, and she ended up having something called pyrometria, which is basically like her uterus was infected. She had an infection, and I was looking at her like something's just wrong. So we got her in there, and ended up what happened. She had an emergency, basically spaying. Emergency hysterectomy going on there. And it was definitely a test for me, because that's my baby girl. You
never even hear of things like this.
No.
I mean, I didn't even know cats had, like, uteruses, and that, if you didn't spay them, they would get... I mean, it's just... The whole thing was just very bizarre. And really out of nowhere. I mean, you're moseying along, life's great, and then... You could have lost her.
We could have lost her, yeah. The vet, the wonderful doctor, she basically said to us that we caught it in time because her uterus was huge, and they said you should never see a uterus on an x-ray for an animal, and it was just like... I mean, the x-ray was blown up, but to me it looked like it was 5 inches long, but it was supposed to be down like a quarter of an inch or something, or half an inch or whatever.
Right.
And so she said that the good news is it's kind of common with unfixed cats, so... That's why it's important to have your females spayed, other than preventing pregnancies. But, she said it's pretty common, and the symptoms that I was describing actually fit that, but they didn't want to rule anything out until they did blood work. And she was in so much pain. She was just all over. I thought I was going to lose a hand. She, all of a sudden freaked out. It was terrible. But sure enough, that's what it was. So they did an emergency surgery.
And you stayed really positive. I mean, the first thing that you did, and this is so important that when we are being put through, a test, something comes out of nowhere, and we could just lose it. I mean, we could...
Oh, I was close.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but you stayed so calm. I mean, you were you calmly went over to the group page on Facebook, and you were like, we need some healings sent. And 20...
my baby.
20 people immediately, they were like, we're sending. And she was fine. She,
Yeah, she turned out okay. I mean, the Saturday night, the night before, I noticed that she was really kind of sleeping all day, and that's just kind of unusual for her. Cats are nocturnal, so they're going to nap through the day. They sleep, 16 hours? They're like infants. But come, usually 9 o'clock, come 5, 6 o'clock, she's begging me for food, and she didn't do that. And then 9 o'clock at night, she was still out like a light on our bed, and I'm just like, so then about 2 o'clock in the morning, we're going to go to bed, and she slowly lifts her head, and I go, that's not normal. And I ended up doing Reiki on her, because she just kind of laid down in the hallway, which she never really does. And my hands just kept going right back to her belly, and I'm like, something's not
And everybody
good.
knew. Everyone who was sending the healings knew automatically. Everything was going to be okay. We know we have a problem in this area, but everything's going to be okay. It's so important that when we start going through something like this, that we reach out for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't struggle through life's tests alone. I mean, it's really the worst thing you could do. So before we start, kind of getting into all of this and thank God your baby is okay. I know.
Yes, it was a good test for me, and honestly, once in a while, you get those tests that like test your strength and your positivity or your negativity levels, or just like life in general and how you handle things and stress and everything else. And honestly, your best bet, like you were saying, ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out and talk about it. Because, I mean, if I bottle things up, forget about it. It's like a firework on the 4th of July.
Right. And is it really helping anything? No,
right,
of course not. Because, energy attracts energy. So that negative bottled up tension is going to attract more trouble. I have a friend who's about to have a baby, and her friend just, had a baby, and the baby's 2.5 months old and passed away from SIDS. And so she is losing it. I mean, she's like, could this happen to me? Could this happen to me? I'm almost due, and I said, you know what, 3 kids later, I have a 17-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a 9-year-old. Let me tell you what, you gotta just roll with it. You just have to be like positive. You give them everything that you can, you do your best, and you literally just have to give it over to God. And those life tests are gonna keep coming and coming. And in my grave, I will still be paranoid and watching over my children. But
absolutely, yeah.
It's a job that never ends. But still, those tests prepare you to handle anything, especially when it involves your babies, your family members, your pets. This is it. I mean, this is the tough stuff. So we are going to be getting into that topic about what to do, how to better survive. Why do they happen? What do these life tests mean? Why do they keep on coming? Okay, and I think there are some key factors that a lot of people in general are overlooking in life.
Yes.
Okay, that make us think almost like life should just be smooth sailing, and that really just is not. Okay, how it works. So we're going to break all that down and talk a little bit from a spiritual perspective, from what we know as psychic mediums, looking on the other side, making sense of everything. Why do these things happen? I want to make a couple quick announcements about upcoming events here at the Ivy League Psychic Academy, and you guys can Skype in for pretty much any class except for Reiki. I need you here for that one. But we do have Reiki training, levels 1 and 2, as well as Masters coming up. We have level 1, Psychic Mediumship Development class that you can still jump in on, but you have to do that really soon. That's running on Thursday nights. That's the 15-week course to teach you how to be able to give a accurate, fantastic 15-minute reading. Due to filming obligations, I don't know when I'll be teaching it again, so I would highly recommend that people jump in on that now if you can. We also have crystals class, and you're doing some pendulum training in that. Tree's teaching that. When is this?
April 20th. What is that? A Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Wednesday. From 7 to 9 p.m.
Okay, and that's going to be amazing. So you guys come in, learn about the healing properties of crystals. We have empathic means, helping you to deal with ADHD, OCD, bipolar disorder, fibromyalgia, anxieties, depressions, all kinds of things like that that are connected to empathic ability. Don't miss the empathic means lecture. We also have some children's fairs coming up, and we have a psychic fair coming up. April 16th, the Ivy League Psychics are supporting scleroderma awareness. We have 2 gallery reads coming up. You guys the students are doing a gallery at 3?
3 o'clock, yes.
Okay.
3 p.m.
Awesome.
And then you have one
At
as well.
6? Yep, I have a gallery coming up at 6 o'clock, and me and my 2 daughters, my 17-year-old Rain and my 12-year-old Garcia, will be taking the stage for the first time, the 3 of us together making our debut as one at 6 o'clock at that fair. But we have amazing vendors. We've got henna, we have crystals, stones,
jewelry. I don't even know, my goodness. There's going to be
artists.
pizza and pop and cupcakes, bake sale, raffle baskets, artists.
Well, it's a huge raffle because it's supporting scleroderma of Western New York. So it's like, I mean, this is huge. But we have over, I think altogether we're at like 40, 45 vendors, something like this. Local artists, jewelry makers, crafters, all kinds of things. So stop in and see us there April 16th. Find it on Facebook on the event page. So I know that we have some questions coming in here through text that I have to kind of organize. But I want to, get into our topic a little bit.
That was funny. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So why do we get tested in life? First things first, I want to get your take on why this happens, but I want to throw this out. Okay, real quick too. Everyone's like, why? Why do I have to go through this? And I find myself doing it too. And I'm like, what, are you kidding me? I mean, at 36, I'm like, I don't even ask that question anymore. I'll still be a whiner, but I pull my act together pretty quick, The minute you're like, why? It's always the same answer. Because you're a human being. You are a spiritual creature having a human experience on planet Earth. This is our classroom.
Yes.
We came to Earth to learn stuff. We came to Earth to suffer through things and experience things, right? And now these experiences that we're going through are the kind of experiences that we could not get on the other side.
Right.
Either that or we chose to do it here versus the other side. So you just have to know that you chose it. It's a lesson. And if you focus on the lesson,
Right.
You'll get there a lot faster instead of just moping about it, okay?
Right, absolutely.
What's your take on this? Why does it happen? I'm sure there are other reasons.
I'm sure there are, but I pretty much agree with the whole thing of I always, was it my mom or my dad? One of the two always said that things can't be too good for too long. And it's just life just kind of, throws a punch at you. It's there are lessons we talk about with past lives and contracts, life contracts and stuff that we sign on before we come here.
Right.
And we have to deal with whatever we have to deal with. It's in our contract. I mean, I do believe that sometimes it's just really just bad luck. Sometimes I just believe that something's just going to happen. But there are things to test us and to make us stronger and to help us to move forward in life and everything else. And what happens if we don't pass that? Well, then the next drama comes. And there it is again.
So lessons are repeated.
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely. And if we are faced with a test and we choose to grumble through it, we don't learn what we need to. We don't evolve through it. Or, it's biblical, the dog eating its own vomit. You keep going back and going back and going back.
That's a great analogy.
Isn't it? It tastes like vomit, right?
Yeah.
The universe will continue to provide you with more vomit to eat. I mean, It will just it's going to make you sick. It's just going to keep on coming. So anything you've repeatedly seen happening in a pattern, the first thing to step back and ask is, okay, what is the lesson in it?
Yeah.
What was the point? So we have to kind of start looking at things not from an angle of victimhood,
right,
but more from a place of empowerment, and also not feeling so much like you're here seeking out something spiritual, but that you are spiritual, seeking out a human experience. And it's almost like once you give in to the flow of that, it comes a lot faster. The information, will flow a little bit easier.
Right.
So, we also have to kind of analyze, what does all of this mean in the larger scheme of things? As we're talking about life contracts, okay, we signed on to certain things within our life contract. This is true. Now, what we mean by that is that before we came to Earth, right, we agreed to do certain things. We have deadlines on that stuff.
Yeah.
And Spirit only really cares about getting us to stick to life contracts and deadlines. So with this, we have, the other things that you were more talking about. Right. Things that will happen randomly.
Yeah.
That feel like they're almost like a mispurpose or it's wrong. Now, can you talk a little bit more on that and how to, more importantly, avoid falling into pitfalls that you don't have to necessarily go through?
I think it's just kind of like we were saying, how sometimes life just throws stuff at you in your road. And it's like little tests to see if you really got like you're grounded. Like you really got a firm footing, like you know where you're at mentally and, you know, with your strength physically and everything else. And I think it's just either our contracts, our guides, or whomever is just being like, I got a curveball for you, here it comes, are you ready? And it's just kind of a test to see where we're at.
Right.
Other times I really kind of believe that it depends on really what is going on around in the area. Do you have negative people around you? Do you have negative situations? Are you a gossip queen, you know?
Right.
Do you have constantly going to a place where you really shouldn't be going, but there's like a thrill there and everything else? So I think it just kind of depends on...
Are you creating it?
Yeah. Are you creating it? And then is it really just life hating you?
Yeah, really.
People would
say. Because if we just behaved, life would hate us less.
Right, yeah. Contracts should be easier to get through. Right?
I'm gonna hate me less. Yeah, I'm gonna be nicer.
Look in the mirror. I like you today.
I'm liking you today, and I'm just gonna pretend to like everybody else so that I don't have to like me less.
I want a good
I'm gonna
day.
take a beating. Yeah, I want to have a decent day. Can I live? So yeah, just let yourself have something. You know, just like behave. I mean, have an ethical code. The biggest problem that I see out there in paranormal work as well as psychic mediumship are people who are just toxic, man. I mean, they're just so toxic that they're attracting all kinds of bizarre situations to themselves, negative people, and they don't want to take ownership of it. And then it's always the victimhood. It's always the why me, and blaming others. And I'm like, geez, I'm looking at you and I'm like, you're a train wreck. But like 90% of what you're going through doesn't have to be there at all. You know, like it's really very simple when you're following an ethical code. And when in doubt, ask spirit. When in doubt, use your conscience that God gave you. When in doubt, silence yourself. Look inward and say, is this a good idea? Yes or no? And
how does it make you feel? Yeah,
the direction is most certainly there. You know, also people need to put themselves in other people's positions more and say, gee, I'm about to make this decision. How would that feel, you know, if I was that person? We've lost touch with a lot of the things we were taught in Catholic school, anyways, in kindergarten. I mean, you know, my foundation was strong in that, and that I am grateful for as far as Catholicism went. Yeah, so these are things we're going to get into a little bit more as the show goes on. We're going to talk about how to survive them, how to quickly analyze what you're going through, and you guys can send your questions in on some of the life tasks, life challenges, life tests that you're going through right now, and we will try to decipher it for you. What are the lessons today? Okay, so again, if you want to send your questions in, text 716-602-1391, or on Facebook, you type in Ask a Medium Para X Radio, and then also there on Para X, you can send them in. All right, I want to get to some that we have coming in through here. I believe a couple of these were left over from last week. Okay, but I do have one here from, I work at a hotel, and we've had a handprint over our entrance door that's been there for years. I decided to get on a ladder and try to clean it off the other day. I used 1 million products, rags, scrubbed. It reappears every time. I also had a coworker get up there and make a new handprint next to the old one. I was able to wash theirs off, and he sent a picture. Okay. He's doing some kind of a ghost study site, and, you know, I've heard of this before. This isn't altogether, you know, uncommon. So let's see what we're getting on that. What are you feeling with this?
I'm getting a gentleman. I don't. He feels almost like I want to say like he was there when they built the place. Like he feels kind of custodial in some sense, like that, and it just kind of feels like his hands literally are into everything. Like he's around everything. But like when it was almost like when it was being built, or that cement or drywall or anything else that went up, it was kind of more of a like his kind of print, like seal of approval kind of a thing, and it's just gonna be there.
He's peed on his territory.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I keep getting a child, so I feel too like
I like how big the handprint is actually.
Yeah,
according to
and I have pictures in here
an adult
somewhere.
Size. Yeah.
But I keep getting a kid energy. I feel as though it isn't necessarily something intelligent in the sense that I'm going back and I'm putting it back. I feel like it's more residual energy. I just feel like it was very dynamic energy with a lot of intention. And sometimes with spirits, I feel like it's not even necessarily their intention. You know, when a spirit comes through to communicate with a psychic medium, there are a lot of physical impressions that energetically take over the body. And they're not always intentional. And it's the same thing, you know, with earthbounds or negative and lower energies. It's not always intentional. It is what it is. It's like if you were to walk into the room, you know, and there were 10 other people in the room, some of them you wouldn't feel at all, and some of them would be like a punch in the face, whether that's positive or negative. And they didn't necessarily bring their A game to create that. They just showed up, you know, and I feel like that's really what this is. So I don't feel that there's any bigger message in it.
No.
I think that things like this tend to follow you, and I do think that you're seeking them out. And so I imagine there will be many, many more. I also feel like a lot of native roots with you, caller. So I want to say that more, you know, native symbology techniques and conversations will be coming up for you to further in advance what it is that you're doing.
I keep seeing like a heavy mustache too. Goes across and down, kind of like old, like one of those, like, what do you call those hats? Like a lot of our Irish friends, you know, like the Irish wear where they just kind of slope down in the front and everything. Like I'm getting that. I'm getting overalls and I'm getting like a mustache. Like it feels like the 20s or 30s or something. Like that's really all I keep getting. It's just smiling away with this big caterpillar mustache.
And I'm supposed to say out of state, from out of state. Okay, now I know we have another one. Let me see, I have from a Nicole, how can I tell if my 14-month-old son is seeing something or someone? Automatically, I feel like he is, but I don't know that it's problematic. I feel like you should, as a parent, we should all, as parents, expect that our children can see them. We wouldn't look funny at the cat, you know, and we really, we learn to block it as we get older. We're pretty good, at being wide open while we're little. Now, you know, he's going to increase with his abilities at 3 years old. These certain brain waves start to kick in, and we become more mediumistic. Then we go over, you know, to the right side of the brain far, far more at 5 and 6 years old. So there will be increases that you need to watch for. The first major peak with psychic mediumship ability is between 14 and 16. And that's where we start to see a lot of the diagnoses, if it hasn't happened by then, you know, and the doctors start to prescribe and diagnose. So ADHD they've got, and then you know, they're depressed and they're out of control and we need to medicate. Usually it happens before then though. Even 5 or 6 years old it starts to kick up. But so that's the first time that the child is using more of the right side of their brain. That part of the brain is developing. At 3 years old, you know, it's the brain waves and it's more toward the back lower region of the head. At his age, most certainly he can see, and he would basically look as though he were looking at something, communicating with something. I'm really not getting anything in particular where he's, you know, having a tremendous problem with it. I just don't necessarily always feel like it's friendly. So I feel like you should probably, you know, keep the house clean. Also, with a child that is sensitive, to a heightened degree, you know, you're going to want to make sure that you're maintaining the wellness in the house. So even if that's not happening now, like right now, I feel like I'm just looking at loved ones right now. I just feel like grandma and grandpa, and there's like a papa or something is around.
That's what I kept getting, grandpa.
Is around a great deal, and that's fine. So he's going to look at them. He's going to interact with them. He's going to act just like a cat would act if they were looking at something. But there would be more laughing and curiosity.
Yeah, a lot of the times, because I've had this question before, and I can honestly say that if they are just looking up and they're staring in a specific area, and all of a sudden they're smiling out of nowhere, or they're giggling out of nowhere, that's a good indication. Yeah. Especially if you're not near them at the time, you know, it's a pretty good indication that somebody's entertaining them or making them laugh or something, and... but I was getting, I kept hearing grandpa.
Yeah, you always know. You walk in the room and the kid's at the corner of the crib facing a corner, or the other side of the wall, and there's like absolutely nothing and nobody over there, and they're having a conversation. That's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. Not anything to worry about. You do it too, whether you know it or not. So just become more aware.
Too. Yeah, as they get older, before they really start talking at that age where it's like 1 to 2 and stuff like that, they'll start pointing.
Oh, absolutely.
And everything too. So.
Yep. And then pull out some pictures of some loved ones and see if he could tell you what their names are without you even having told him. Interesting question. Okay, thank you for that. We do have one coming in here from a Mel. How will my child support case go? It is in the trial stages and lots of anxiety on my end. Hard to meditate and perform daily. Okay, things are weighing on me. How will the child support case go? Was that the question from earlier?
I think so, yeah.
That I believe was sort of sent in. So I'm supposed to be taking this one, I think. Hold on a second here. Okay. What I'm almost feeling like is like a lot of shuffling of information. So it seems to me that while things were looking like they were going in one direction, right now they're kind of spinning around and possibly going in another direction. I think that while it seems to be a little bit of a threat, and it seems to be like maybe things are about to get flipped on their ear, I do feel like it's temporary, and I feel like you shouldn't necessarily worry. And I am seeing this as more of a test, which is interesting, given the topic of the show, tonight. But I'm seeing it as more of a test for you, where you're supposed to figure out really once and for all, I almost want to say how to stay calm, where your priorities lie, being more organized. I feel like letting go of stuff. You've reached a period in your life right now where if you don't start letting go of some stuff, it's going to start to impede. Mm-hmm. And you're just spiraling out of control right now. And I feel like some of this change that I'm seeing in the courtroom was caused by you. And so you do have to take responsibility for it. And whether or not you're going to be taken seriously for a while is highly debatable, I have to be honest. So you're just going to have to ride it out. And funny again, with the topic of the show tonight, life tests. What are the lessons? Do not point, do not accuse, do not overexert your energy outward, look inward. What were you supposed to learn from this? What could you have done better to improve? And get it done so that this does not happen again. And from there, I feel like rather smooth sailing, and I do see you being more calm in general when you're relating to other people, when you're out at work, when you're with the kids, just in general in life. I feel you more rooted. Not grooted.
Grooding.
Not grooted.
Grounding
Groot yourself.
And Groot it.
And rounded. You're grooted and rounded.
We're grooted and ready to grow.
Ready to go. No, you got it. Okay, it'll be fine. So try not to worry. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I know we have a few questions coming in here from
Parax.
Sorry. This one's from Ceiling Cat. I have a friend named Kathy who is in a housing/money crisis. Any insight?
I feel like a little while longer. I feel like in this situation too, lessons were supposed to be learned. I feel like there were situations that should have been dealt with before this time. So due to the hesitancy, when she should have, preferably 3 months ago, and then within the last year, there were a couple different scenarios she was confronted with where she should have made some changes and didn't. I also feel like she was treading water for a while, so she was kind of like, I can't, I don't know how, I don't know what to do, I don't have everything I need. And I feel like while that was true to an extent, I feel like more, you have to prepare. So it seems to me that intuitively she kind of saw this coming in a lot of ways, or could have. Now, It seems to me that there's going to be a while longer to ride it out, almost for the universe to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Okay. Will she learn the lessons? I certainly hope so. That falls in free will. That is totally up to her. But it will be about another 3 to 4 months of discomfort. And then I'm feeling the 5th month, her really being able to take a deep breath and be like, oh, thank God. I'm just happy to have hot water, a roof over my head, and food.
Yeah.
And the basics become such luxuries. What are you getting with that?
I'm right there with you. I first was hearing 3 to 5 months, so yeah, I'm right there with you. And it feels like prepare. It's like, take this time to deal with everything that needs to be done, but also prepare in the same sense. But watch what you're doing, because going forward, it will become a little easier to deal with in that, around that 5-month time frame. Mm-hmm. But it feels like there's just a lot, so it's like you really have to kind of keep and stop like what-ifing everything to death, because it feels like it's like, oh, what if this, that adds so much more stress. Mm-hmm. And that too, I think, really, I feel that that brings in negativity. And what does negativity do? It brings in more drama. Mm-hmm. So really just kind of keep your mind clear and go forward.
Absolutely. We have another one coming through.
Yeah, this one is from Ceiling Cat. How do you emotionally deal with world events like what happened in Brussels, Paris, and in Pakistan?
Ooh.
Personally, I heed the warnings very closely. I saw 9/11 coming, and I lived in Manhattan. My husband, at the time, worked in both towers. And I saw 9/11 not in the sense of the towers and the planes necessarily, but I saw it as a war, that there was a war brewing, and that it was going to, be sort of between America and the Middle East, and there was going to be a lot going on that was going to literally hit New York City, and that we had to move. And I was haunted with this vision repeatedly, day in, day out, dreams. I couldn't sleep. And around that time, I had a lot of other visions. We call people like this, messengers of death. We could also say that they're empaths at the 3rd and the 4th level. And so what happens, is that you see these things coming ahead of time, but in addition, you see a whole bunch of other stuff. I saw friends dying potentially. I had to go find those friends, reach out to them, tell them how to avoid it. Some of them lived, some of them died. In time, those scenarios played out. At the same time, you're getting very dynamic images that are like, international. You tend to get a lot of side things. So talk about stress. It was really pretty out of control. I fortunately was in a situation where, my husband at the time was very obligated to listen so he could survive. He had learned enough by that time that if I said, we have to go, we had to go. Mm-hmm. So they had offered him promotions, a couple pay raises. Everyone was like, you could be living in Manhattan in 4 months, because at the time I was in Queens. You're going to ruin your daughter's life. How could you leave here? And I said, no, we have to transfer out. So we took the first transfer out, which was to Buffalo, and I've been here since. And that's how I handle it. I act quick. I am as calm as I can be. I reach out to the people that I can reach out to, and I do the best that I can to prevent it. I don't listen to anybody else. I don't care what anybody else says. I focus, I get out, and we survive. Mm-hmm. And then after, you send healing. And while I knew I couldn't prevent it, I spent the next 5 years obsessively trying to get back to Manhattan and just feeling like I had to send healing, and was just, traumatized. It's very, very difficult. And I do believe, though, it is a blessing in disguise. It is for a higher purpose. And the minute you start to feel it, I think if I would have known more about energy manipulation at that time, I would have done more to try to manifest positive. But I think I did the best I could with that one.
Yeah, for me, it's slightly different, because I really don't get information like right then and there what's happening. For me, it's more like I deal with what I call the winds of change. And I could be cooking dinner, I could be in the shower, I could be sleeping, and I will get woken up, or, like I said, cooking dinner. And it literally feels like a breeze comes from the right to the left side of my face, just kind of goes by. And I feel like something's changing, something's about to happen. And then I'll basically say, okay, got it. Is this for me? Does this involve me?
Right.
And if I feel like it's foreign energy, I'm like, okay, where is this coming from? And sometimes I don't always get the answer, but I know it's for somebody else. There's other times where I don't feel the winds of change, and I'll be sitting there on the phone with somebody, and I will have a breakdown. I will cry, and it'll be very uncharacteristic of me. Mm-hmm. And I will be like, this isn't me. What is wrong? And I will try to figure out who it's coming from, which one of my family members is having a hard time, and so forth. And I just kind of, if I get anything, I try to send them healing, send it wherever it needs to go to. If I don't know who it belongs to, I'll say, whoever this is for, please get healing and positivity to them as quick as possible.
Yeah.
I wish I could get those details, but I really, I don't.
Well,
and I just deal with it the best I can.
Yeah, it's just however it comes, however it comes. But it definitely comes all the time.
Yep.
So,
daily.
the other major thing that we do is, like the Empathic Means lectures, learn how to tune it out as much as you, can when you feel like you don't need it right now. Anything super important will come back around again. So I keep my foot down. People are always like, oh, you're a psychic medium. And they walk by and they're like, what'd you get off of me? And I'm like, I'm off right now. Like, that's what I'm getting is nothing. I am seeing like,
I'll tell that if I
like cotton candy dancing through my head and unicorns and puffy clouds. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I am off. I'm not doing this right now. So I know we have another one coming in from here. And then we're going to get back to our topic. And then we have a few more texts coming in too.
This one's from Catwoman. In all caps.
Meow. Okay, go ahead.
The question is in
It's
all
like,
caps.
meow.
Like, this is, like, super serious.
Okay.
I'm waiting on a hearing date I'm waiting on a hearing date for my disability case. When can I expect to hear from them?
Oh, that's funny because that's the text I just pulled up. Okay, so she really came at it from all angles. Okay, so I'm currently on disability from an injury. Will never be able to return to my previous career. What do I do now? Okay, this is probably the same one. Well, look at how Spirit just lined those two up.
She's saying, oh, it's a different one?
Yeah.
Okay, it's one than the other. So we'll go with the one on Pair X first, and then we'll flip over to this one.
Are you sure? Yeah, I feel like it's the same one.
Okay.
I think it is. How would you know? Okay, well, let's see what we're getting with this. So we're gonna go with Garcia, then. Yeah, I feel like it's the same person. So, which is just bizarre that we would have pulled them both up at the same time. I feel as though, as far as the money is concerned, I mean, what are you getting on that? Because I'm feeling like something going down my leg. I'm feeling like my knee is affected. I'm feeling like the back.
Yeah, I'm kind of hearing like 2-3 months, and I kind of feel like what that is paperwork. I feel like it's kind of an answer of something, but I feel like the actual money part and the rest of it is going to come a bit later. I'm kind of feeling like this is just kind of a long thing that's kind of being drawn out. But it almost feels like it's necessary that it's getting drawn out.
Okay. As far as, we'll just answer both of these in case these are two different questions. I'm not so sure that they are, but what do I do? Okay, so from the text that I'm getting here is from a 314. What do I do now that I cannot return to my previous career? Okay. I'm really feeling like you creating more. I'm feeling like you using your hands. I'm feeling like artistic. I'm feeling like healing people. I'm feeling like more communicative. I am under the impression that the things that you were doing weren't really what you were supposed to be doing anyways. I almost feel like you were kind of treading water. I don't know. I don't know that you really hated what you were doing. It just doesn't feel like that's all that there was. And so I want to say find yourself more in the communication fields, whether you get into like psychic mediumship, Reiki, helping people heal, you become a counselor. I feel like even helping people too, through the mouth, through the word, who could potentially be abusing, almost like drug and alcohol abuse, drug addiction based on their own injuries. And it seems to me like you're going to have a lot of drive, a lot of push from the universe in getting you out there to talk with the people. And I'm also sensing younger people around you who really need your attention, need your time. And so I want to say get out there and start volunteering and let it unroll on its own. I'm seeing you summertime and having a much better idea on what it is that you should be doing. But don't sit around and wait for anything to find you. I feel like get your hands dirty and just dive in. Get right back out there. Anything with that?
No, you're good.
Okay. Sounds good.
I think we both answered this way.
Okay. Do you have another one?
They are not the same question.
Yes. So do you have another one?
Yeah. I'm waiting on a hearing date for my disability case.
Okay, so that's bizarre then somebody else like texted that. Okay.
My answer was going to
Correct.
to her over here on Parax. That's
Okay.
where my answer went. I wasn't really getting anything for the one here.
Good, because it's two different ones, but it's the
Yeah,
same or it's
yeah.
all the same.
So what I had said about the 2-3 months, it feels like there's other paperwork and so forth. That was for the Catwoman. Is that what her name was?
Yeah.
On Parax.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm feeling with that one, I'm almost feeling like longer. I'm almost feeling like it's drawn out. I'm feeling like I'm going into the 5th month. I'm going into the 6th month. I'm kind of feeling anxiety. I'm feeling like, is it coming? Is it coming? I have you being a little nervous. I have you kind of waiting for it. It's almost like if I were waiting for the check to come in the mail. And I feel like it will, but don't let it create headaches for you. I feel like you're testing all of this. Given the topic of the show tonight, I feel like you're testing all of this is learning how to almost like sing in the valley and have peace. It feels to me that the moment when you like don't need it anymore or don't care or feel like, you know what, whatever, I'm just going to keep faith in God and I'm just going to know that I'm going to be provided for. It almost feels like the moment you leave it behind and you're like, whatever, it feels like it comes. It also comes in with a lot of male energy that's bringing in extra help. Okay, so there would be a helper around there for around that time coming in for you. Okay, thank you for those. Thank you for those questions. I want to get to another one here. Hold on, from a 553 number. Hi, Ivy and Tree. I've been dealing with some inner struggles lately. I'm wondering if they are related to a past life. Okay, let's see. I'm feeling like there's a lot going on here in the chakra, the stomach, okay? Almost like the your lower, I guess I call it the root. Okay, the root chakra. So yeah, I do feel like this is being affected. I feel too like when I'm looking at, one of the past lives that I feel are affecting you right now, I almost feel you getting blindsided. I feel you getting like almost like swept from the side. I feel like almost hit in the head, and there's like trauma, there's head pain, and you're really wondering why. Okay, and you're wondering what you could do about it. So the way I'm looking at you right now is almost just like trying to climb up, just trying to get yourself into a better place. And we're really just kind of struggling with that, where you're wondering if you have the stamina, if you have the energy to go forward. And I want to say that you do. I want to say that, we're here to offer you encouragement. But it seems to me that you do need to dig a little bit deeper into why this is happening. And I'm sensing it almost as a progressive issue that you may have also had earlier in this life. It's almost like it's resurrecting itself again. What are you getting with this?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty right on point with you. It feels like there's a lot that kind of needs to be cleared out before she can really just kind of move forward with different things. And again, we're talking about the negativity and things that are around. So I would definitely try to be more positive, more optimistic towards, good things kind of coming in and everything else. But it feels like there's a lot that kind of needs to be fixed and a lot that needs to be taken care of before that real positive level can hit.
I want to say this too. It seems to me that when we're having experiences that are incredibly dynamic, that are very intense, we want to remember that those are historical. Okay, I had a friend who used to say, if it's hysterical, it's historical. And there's a lot of truth in that. And in mediumship, we know that when it's that intense, it's past life and it's trickling over. Now, a lot of people, ask, let's get back to the topic here. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, what is the point? What is the point of suffering through all of this and then dying and going to heaven? Like, shouldn't it be over then? Shouldn't that just be it? Aren't we just like on vacation when we die and we go over to the other side? It's not that simple. People who don't want to learn the lessons. They don't want to go forward. A lot of them choose just to stay. A lot of them end up being earthbound because they don't want to be dealing with it anymore, or they're hung up and they're overly attached to things that went on here. In order to cross over into the light, you have to be willing to learn lessons and to continue with your growth. However, everything can't be learned over there. That's why we have the human experience. Okay, that's why we have Earth. So if you, and that's been a question, very commonly lately for me, is like, yeah, but what if I don't learn everything before I die? And I'm like, well, that's not the point necessarily. I mean, I think it's pretty unrealistic, to like come to Earth for the first time and be like, I'm going to learn everything, I'm going to get it all. I mean, no, that's America right there. America's just like, no. I'm going to eat it all now. I'm going to have it all now. I'm going to like be it all now. And I'm going to run over anything that's going to prove, And it's like, that's not happening, I mean, and that's why older souls tend to be a little bit more calm.
Mellow.
They tend to be a little bit more observant. They tend to think things a little bit more that we think.
And we laugh at the ones that are like,
And we laugh at the younger ones, and we're like, yeah, you're going to trip and fall like 5 more lives at least. And
here goes, buddy.
yeah, and and I'm sure I'm, one of them. It's entirely possible, but I mean, I'm certainly learning a lot. There's not prescribed amount of time to get all of this done. It is negotiable. If you aren't learning your lessons and focusing on things in this manner, then of course you are going to find yourself in an awful lot of these predicaments where you're just replaying the same old thing over and over again. So yeah, when you have passed away and you didn't complete all of the lessons, the way that it looks from my perspective as a medium anyways, is that spirits have an opportunity. They can either stay earthbound, refuse to go, or they cross over into the light and they start learning and growing and experiencing things. And I want to say reflecting on their lives. And at that point, they can decide, it seems like, when they're going to go back. I don't know if there's necessarily a system where they get thrown back sooner than they want. I feel like there's a little bit of a break there and there's a little bit of leeway, but I don't feel that they want to stay if they have to learn more. It's almost like get back on the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. I often wondered about that too, like how soon do we get kicked back over? Like, okay, you're done, get going.
Yeah, and I
don't want to find out anytime soon, but it's just curious.
It's like sometimes it almost looks like it's immediate.
Yeah.
And then other times, it's like, God, I'm talking to somebody's great-great-grandparents. I'm like, they're still over there? I'm like, what are they doing over there? I'm like, how long are you going to vacation?
And I think you can kind of tell, like, for me, too, like, I always had that experience growing up and everything. That I felt like I had a different purpose. I was here for another purpose. And I think that's when you come over from a previous life and you need to get down to business. But yeah, in this life you're not sure exactly what it is, because I'm sure we sign the contract before we come over, but do we remember what it is? No. Thanks for not throwing me that bone,
Yeah.
But when you feel that there's something you're supposed to be doing, for me a lot of the time it always led back to this. It always led back to being an empath, a healer, mediumship, and so forth. If for anybody else, it could be to just be a lawyer, be a doctor, be somebody who's out there actually helping people.
But the first key to surviving these life tests, is really look inward. Stop looking outward. The way that people get out at sea, the way that we become detached from what our life contract is not even necessarily that we're born and then we forget it. It's that we start listening to outside influences that pull us away. And the more we derail, the further out to sea we go, the more detached from our contract and what is right for us, that we get. So I would tell everybody, okay, tips to surviving life tests. Figure out, first off, okay, what is the lesson? Why am I going through this? Yeah. What is the point? What can I do better? Okay, and then also, look at your life contract. Now, people are like, how the heck do I look at my life contract? How would I know? And I'm like, okay, go back to childhood. What did you think you wanted to do? If you saw yourself wearing a cape, right, and then you saw yourself firefighting, and then you saw yourself, like, managing a farm or like riding horses, and that's like all you cared about. Now you're a lawyer because your dad made you be, right? We're a little off path. We may need, okay, to go back. And while that's scary because you've invested a lot of time in this, you're on the wrong path. So what's the difference? Okay, like you're just going to be miserable anyways. You may as well do the hard work and get happy. But you need to look at your life contract. Now, if you were to look back and you were like, oh, okay, well, I was always like just dying to be a superhero. Well, maybe you're supposed to be helping people. Maybe then because you wanted to be a firefighter, it's a sign that you should go into police work or firefighting or become a nurse. protect people, get into law enforcement in some way. You see yourself working with animals or working the land. That's pretty self-explanatory. These are all like the healing arts in some way. And so many people started in the healing arts and have derailed and are out in fields that they have no business even touching. And then they're struggling and struggling and struggling. So start with the small stuff. What is the lesson in this experience, in this life test I'm suffering through? Okay? Stop suffering and use it for your own evolution. And then look at your life contract. What did you always want to do? What are you really called here to be? What makes you happy when you think of doing it? I don't care how small it is. Start there and then feed it and go and get started on it.
No, I was just going to say that I think it would be good to point out, too, that even if you heavily feel that that's where you're supposed to be, but there's always, like, something doesn't work out and whatever, it doesn't mean that that's not necessarily what you're, not supposed to be doing. It could very well be that the timing is off, or you're missing a step, or whatever the case is, too.
And God is a gentleman. I mean, it'll be recycled in. Yeah. All the things that you've picked up will be recycled in if you're moving in the right direction.
Right, it'll come back around.
Sure it will. We have one more question, then we need to get on to the stone of the week.
Yeah, this one's from Parax from XYZ Yellow. My friend's aunt died, and my first thought was that the death was unnatural. Can you contact her?
We're going to end on a high note. It seems to me like there is something about that, but I'm getting mostly the throat, the lungs, the neck. I'm feeling like either infection or something bizarre up in through here that happened. And I feel like while she's okay, I would agree that it was fairly questionable or kind of came out of nowhere. At this time, what I'm feeling from her is that, more will be coming to the surface. And I feel like give it another 3 days, 3 weeks, and more information will be surfacing. Okay? And then we could take a better look at this and have a few more answers. She is at peace, but it does feel like it kind of snuck up out of nowhere in a way. And I do sense a little bit of mishap. But she's also sort of taking responsibility for it in a way.
I'm just kind of getting her a little bit, I think, here. She seems very sweet, very kind of loving. She's just kind of very light and airy. I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of like floating, which means that if she feels very just kind of light and airy, and it's just kind of like one of those like, don't worry about me, I'm good. Just one of those like, thank you to everybody. I love everybody. I am good. Please move forward. Don't dwell. Don't stress. It's almost like she's like pounding her fist, like, knock it off. You know what I mean? But just kind of know that she's in a good place and she's happy and wants everybody to really just move forward.
Yeah, there is no big, like, let's open a criminal investigation on this type situation going on.
It happened.
I would just let it go, and it'll be better healing for the family if you could do the same. Okay, thank you so much for that. And what is our stone of the week?
Actually, I didn't have one, but one is popping in off the top of my head here, so I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to actually go with red jasper, which is your root chakra stone. It's one of the heavy, I call it the root chakra stone. A lot of people will use hematite and other stones, but I just go straight with red jasper, and truthfully, it is a grounding stone. I think that kind of works with us with our testing subject for tonight, is that ultimately get yourself grounded. You have to be grounded, and you have to be grooted, as we're going to say, and ready to roll. Get the negativity out and just focus on where you want to go. And you can get a piece of red jasper and hang on to that, and that will really keep you centered. If you have red jasper and you start to feel a little lightheaded, don't hold on to it so much.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes you are grounded. Or it could be that if you're really, really up there, you need a little bit more than that red jasper to pull you down. But I would say just definitely ground it. Your spot for your red jasper is just below your belly button. So you can kind of hold it there focus, like think of like a white light just kind of shining and focusing, and that'll help you get grounded too.
Okay. And, what else can people do with maybe like the crown chakra or the third eye to help open that? Because people who are dealing with a lot of life tests, they're very anxiety ridden. And that energy tends to get very stiff and tight and blocked up. And they stop receiving information from their higher mind and from universal energy. How can they open up a little bit more with stones?
As far as the crown, I would say your two best stones are clear quartz and amethyst. I personally like to stick clear quartz at the top because that's the master healer.
Okay.
That's the one that's going to bring the most to you. It's an amplifier. It's a high energy stone. It's like the highest one. Okay. So I would go with the clear quartz, and you can actually lay in bed, or you can just kind of sit there and you can set it, right at your crown, right at the top, like the very top of your head, not your forehead, but the top of your head. And again, imagine a white light kind of coming in. Imagine like there's a trap, like almost like I want to say like a trap door, like there's a door at the top of your head, and just kind of open that up, and you could focus the white light there, kind of like what we do to get grounded when we bring in the white light. Focus positivity, healing, and all that other stuff, and just kind of let it just kind of seep in. And as it's coming in, imagine that white light traveling down from your head down through to your toes. Okay. And that will help you to pull focus. For third eye, it's amethyst. So I would literally sit there, put an amethyst right at the middle of your forehead section, and imagine a purple light kind of coming through the stone, and again kind of bring it in. But set your intentions. Intentions are very important, because if you just put it there and expect something to happen, is it going to happen? No, because you didn't really set your intention as to where you want it to go. So that's really important too. And you got to spend like a few minutes, at least 10 minutes and quiet, or even with some Zen type meditation music on or something, and just really focus too.
Okay. All right, very good. Yeah, so you guys, do this. Love yourselves, and take the time to analyze why it is that you're going through what you're going through. You didn't fall onto the earth by accident, okay? And the things you're going through are not by accident. Everything is deliberate. Everything is energy exchange. Everything is a lesson. If you guys are looking to find me, I will be doing a Mercy Flight event out in July. Okay, so you can find me there doing readings. I'm also doing at the train station at the terminal May 21st. I'll be doing some reading work out there, and we'll have an Ivy League table out there. I'm doing Fog 2.0 in June in Ohio. I will also be out at Margin Manor coming up here soon for a psychic mediumship and empathic means lecture at the beautiful winery out in Appleton, and a whole bunch more, okay? But first things first, we have our April 16th Psychic Fair, Ivy League Psychics, coming up at Seneca Hose. And if you guys are looking to reach me, you can do that through Ivy Rivera. PsychicMedium.com is my website, or find me on Facebook at Ivy Rivera. And you're at?
On Facebook at Theresa Tree Matuszak Psychic Medium.
Okay, awesome. So, again, coming to you from the Ivy League Psychic Academy, where we are raising up the next generation of light workers. Looking forward to hearing from you guys next week on Para X Radio. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Take care of each other.